welcome to Screen Hollywood, the home of movie news and entertainment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
What's up, movie fans, and welcome back to Screen Hollywood. I'm your host, Adam. If you're new here, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, and hype button. And don't forget to bookmark and subscribe to our international news publication at screenhollywood.com. Every now and then, a piece of news drops that hits you with a tidal wave of conflicting emotions. On one hand, you have that warm, fuzzy feeling of nostalgia. On the other hand, you have that cold, cynical dread of modern Hollywood. Well, folks, we just got a big one. Variety has officially confirmed that Warner Bros. Has set a release date for Gremlins 3. Yes, after more than 3 decades of rumors, speculation, and development hell, the Mogwai are officially coming back. The film is scheduled to hit theaters on November 12th, 2027. Now, my initial reaction when I first heard this, I rolled my eyes so hard I think I saw my own brain. Here we go again, I thought. Another beloved 80s classic dragged out of retirement because Hollywood can't be bothered to take a risk on a new, original idea. And honestly, that criticism is still valid. If you want to hear my full breakdown on the corporate, data-driven greed that fuels this endless cycle of reboots, go watch our video on the American Psycho reboot. It explains everything. But then, I read the fine print. I saw the names attached as producers. And one name stood out and completely changed my perspective. Steven Spielberg. The guy is a living legend. His production company, Amblin Entertainment, was behind the originals, and he's back for this one. And that, my friends, is a very, very good sign. Spielberg doesn't just slap his name on any old trash. If he's involved, it means there's a level of quality control and a respect for the source material that gives me a genuine glimmer of hope. So let's take a look back for anyone who might be a bit younger. The Gremlins IP was a phenomenon in the 80s. The first film, released in 1984, was a perfect storm of horror, comedy, and Christmas-time chaos. It told the story of a young man named Billy Peltzer who receives a strange, adorable creature called a Mogwai as a pet. He names him Gizmo. But with Gizmo comes 3 very important, very strict rules. 1. Keep him out of bright light. 2. Don't get him wet. 3. And the big one, never, ever feed him after midnight. Of course, all 3 rules are broken, and the cuddly Gizmo spawns a batch of mischievous, reptilian, and utterly destructive monsters known as Gremlins. The film was a massive box office hit. Then came Gremlins 2, the new batch, in 1990, a sequel that bravely went in a completely different direction. It was a wild, satirical, and incredibly meta comedy that poked fun at the original, sequels in general, and corporate culture. It was creative anarchy. And over the years, it's become a cult classic in its own right. So, why has it taken more than 30 years to get a third film off the ground? The short answer is development hell. The original writer, Chris Columbus, actually wrote a script for a third film years ago. By his own admission, it was much darker than the previous films and would have explored the mythology of the Mogwai in a more profound way. But for whatever reason, the studio never pulled the trigger. The project just languished for decades, with rumors popping up every few years. The recent success of the animated series Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai on Max likely showed Warner Bros. That there's still a massive, hungry audience for this IP, finally giving them the confidence to move forward. Now, the article from Variety confirms this will be a direct sequel, not a reboot, which is another point in its favor. But this brings us to the biggest, most important question of all for a franchise like this: the special effects. The original movies are masterpieces of practical effects. The Gremlins were brought to life through classic, brilliant animatronics and puppetry. They had a physical, tangible presence in the world that made them feel real. That's a huge part of their charm. So, what do they do in 2027? Do they honor that legacy and use animatronics? Or do they go the cheaper, easier route and make them fully CGI, like we've seen with Sonic the Hedgehog or in the live-action Lilo and Stitch? I honestly don't think full CGI is a good idea for this movie. Part of the horror and the comedy of the Gremlins is that they are very physical little critters. They interact with the environment, they tear things apart, they wear little costumes. The tangibility is key. However, from a studio perspective, CGI is much cheaper and allows for more dynamic, complex action sequences. Building dozens of high-tech animatronic puppets is an incredibly expensive and time-consuming process. My hope? A hybrid approach. Use practical puppets as the primary method, just like in the originals, and then use CGI to enhance the effects, to remove wires, smooth out movements, or create larger-scale swarm scenes. But please, please do not give us a fully digital gizmo. It would shatter the magic.
So what can we expect at the box office? I think this has the potential to be a huge hit, driven almost entirely by nostalgia. The generation that grew up with Gremlins now has kids of their own. If the film can successfully blend that classic horror comedy tone with a modern sensibility, it could be a 4-quadrant smash hit. Its success will live or die on its ability to feel like a true Gremlins movie. There is one potential hiccup on the horizon, though. The release date is still a few years away, November 2027. And as many of you know, there's a pending sale of Warner Brothers currently active. Corporate shakeups and changes in leadership at a studio can often lead to delays or shifts in strategy for projects that are in early development. So while the date is set now, don't be shocked if things move around a little bit as we get closer. Ultimately, my initial eye roll has turned into cautious optimism. The fact that this is a direct sequel, combined with the golden touch of Steven Spielberg, is enough to get me on board. They seem to be approaching this with a degree of respect for the legacy, and that's all we can ask for at this stage. They know the bar is high, and they know the fans will be watching with eagle eyes. Let's hope they don't get it wet after midnight. I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for Gremlins 3? And the big question, should they use practical puppets or go full CGI? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Screen Hollywood, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next update. I'm Adam, and I'll see you at the movies.